Another winter storm heads our way, but tonight we check in on what spring will bring. We'll look back at the week that was at Western, a week of surprising returns and spectacular performances. Griffon Sports Insider starts now. Hello everyone and welcome to GSI. I'm Ryan Menley, he's Brett Easley. We're together again, Brett.
That's hunky-dory, isn't it? You know what? You must have got tired of winning the pick segment. That's all I can say.
That's why I had to come back.
We'll find out who won this week's pick segment later on in the show. But interesting week for Missouri Western Athletics. We begin with men's basketball. The Griffon men sit 9-9 overall, 8-7 in the MIAA. That's after splitting a pair of games this past week.
And here's a recap of the week that was. Wednesday, the Air Elite 1 Acrobats taking flight in the field house, but Western battling Emporia without its top flyer. P. Allen Stinnett grounded with a sprained MCL. Hornets stinging early. Matt Boswell rings up 3 of his 23 points. Emporia just controlling the first half. They led by as many as 12. Jonathan Phelps, though, keeping the Griffs in the game. One of his 4 first-half threes. Then, on the break, the little guy showing off his hops. Phelps, 18 first-half points. Griffs still go to halftime down 11. Second half, though, a different story. Phelps slashing his way through the black jerseys. He had a game-high 29 points. Western now within 3. They would then go on a 15-0 run on the break. T.J. Johnson caps that run with a jam. Griffs now up by 8. 2 minutes to play. Tied at 65. Phelps for the lead, no good, but DeJuan Harris there to clean up the mess. Griffs go up and never look back. They go on to win 74-68. Saturday, Griffin's taking on red-hot Washburn. Coach Tom Smith sporting the sneakers for Coaches versus Cancer. P. Allen Stinnett, meanwhile, back after missing 1 game with a sprained MCL. He struggled, scoring just 7 points. Griffs and Bods trading baskets early. Stinnett to Levante Douglas for the bucket underneath, but Washburn just unstoppable down low. They'd take a 45-35 lead to halftime. Second half, Griffs trying to come back. Jonathan Phelps the miss, Douglas the tip in. He had 12 points. Griffs down 11. Later, DeJuan Harris glides to the hoop for 2 of his 13 points. But Western had no answer for the Bods down low. They scored 50 points in the paint, shot 58% for the game. Logan Stutz, 30 points and 11 rebounds for Washburn as the Ichabods win their 6th straight, 87-74 the final.
And we're joined now by Griffon head men's basketball coach Tom Smith. And Coach Smith, look back to Wednesday first. That game was similar to our women's game in a lot of reasons. Game for 25 minutes looked like it was going to be Emporia State's night, and then boom. Look up at the clock, about 15 minutes left in the game. We're down 10 and snap our fingers, and just like that, a nice run and a really solid come from behind victory.
Just from the way the two teams were playing, I think most throughout the game, I thought Emporia had quicker, some zip in their step, the whole business. I thought we were a step behind everything. We just couldn't get caught up. We couldn't defend them very well. They shot it extremely well. In my jargon, I would say they had it on a string. They just had things going for them, and suddenly it just turned around, and we made a little run, got it to, I think we got it down to 4 or 3, and then they ran it back up to 6 or 7 again. And once again, I'm thinking, we're not going to get over the hump, and finally we did, and we did it at the right time.
Well, you talk about Wednesday's game and a nice comeback. Saturday's game, really no chance for a comeback at Washburn. You hit a team that's playing very well right now, as you talked about that hotness factor. And it's also just really tough to win on the road right now, anywhere.
It's a strange year. It's a strange league. I think right now, as I've said so many times, I think teams are go up and down. They have good streaks when they're playing very, very well, and then they have some times when they're not playing particularly well. Washburn is an example of that team right now. They're playing very, very well, and I agree with you. There's so many times in a basketball game, I'm on the sidelines and I feel like, we're up 13 or 15, and I'm like, this is a shaky 13 or 15. I don't feel real confident about this. And the other night when we were down, 8 even, okay, I thought it was a bad 8. It just didn't feel like, as you said, we just had it in us to make that run.
P. Allen Stinnett missed Wednesday's game, back Saturday's game with a sprained MCL. Didn't really seem like 100%. What is his status right now?
Well, I think he's okay. And I've said this before, and I probably feel pretty strong. I just don't know mentally how this plays on a kid like P. Allen. I'm sure he's looking at a career beyond college basketball, and in some way, and I don't know where, but in some way he. And so you don't know how that affects the way he plays. But I know this: if he's going to be on the floor, P. Allen has to be a scorer. I mean, that's one of the things that have made us a better basketball team is once Adrian Thomas came in as our point guard, we moved him to more of a scorer, and I think our team got better. The other night, you could see he wasn't really looking to score, and if he doesn't do that, then he just becomes another point guard, and that's not what we need him for.
Well, Heck Week, as you would call it, continues. You had Washburn on Saturday. You've got 3 of the top 3 teams in the conference back to back to back. We'll talk about the other 2 when we come back.
Basketball to me is life.
Basketball to me means being together as a family.
Out there doing what I love with teammates I love.
5 players becoming a unit, working hard to get the job done.
Because it brings out the true character, you really find out really who you really are sometimes.
You learn not to take the easy answer. You learn to have a common goal. Those are the things that are important about basketball.
Welcome back to GSI, joined by head men's basketball coach Tom Smith. You go on the road Wednesday, weather permitting, to Fort Hays State. Now Hays 17-3 overall. You beat them in December here. They're ranked 6th in the nation back then. But as we talked about earlier, it's a whole different story when you go on the road.
Well, there's no question, and then you're also hitting them at a time when Northwest Missouri went in and upset them on Saturday, which was, a game that I'm sure Northwest feels good about it, but I think the league was shocked at that when the first place team drops a game to a team that was only 2-11 or 2-10 going into it. I can't remember the last time that's ever happened in the MIAA. So, it's a sign of perhaps how good the league is from top to bottom. I don't know, but in talking to Mark Johnson, the Hays coach, I think he felt like they played pretty well. I don't think they felt like. I think most people would say, they took them for granted and they were upset and this type of thing. I think he felt like they played pretty well. But just, again, a sign of, Northwest team that when they want to play and they want to play together, they're as good as anybody.
That's Wednesday. Hays, the number 2 team in the league in the standings. And then, oh, by the way, the number 1 team in the league in the standings, Missouri Southern, comes to the Fieldhouse Saturday night.
And Southern's had a tough time winning in here the last couple of years. So I'm not... I don't think that's a lot of fear. I think right now the thing we're concerned about is how we're playing. Are we going to get back to playing better? I don't think we played particularly well against Washburn. I don't think we played particularly well against Emporia. And I think it's a team that's our team is teetering right now. 9-9 is not exciting to the kids, even though I think we've had some really good wins. I'm more concerned about how we're going to play in the next 3 or 4 games, than I am against our opponents.
I don't want to get the Jim Mora from you, but the first regional rankings came out last week, and these are 2 games that, it's an opportunity week. If we can get a couple of games here, the regional ranking committee's shown that you get some good wins against good people, especially on a road. Those can go a long way in the end. Are these 2 that potentially could springboard us? And if we can go on a good run, is there still a chance at the end? Long way to go, obviously.
To be an at-large team?
Yeah.
The answer to that question is if we can win the next 2 games, I would think that we'd be really, really close.
Okay, Coach Smith. Easley's impromptu. You ready? The wintertime doldrum edition. Here we are.
You never let him answer if he's ready or not, or he just...
That's true. Regardless of whether or not you're ready or not, I'm going to ask you 4 questions. In the spirit of Coach Plett, I asked him this question too. Have you ever been a hospital patient? You don't have to tell me what for. Just have you ever been a hospital patient other than birth?
Other than birth, I can't remember the birth one, but yes, I had knee surgery when I was at Central Missouri.
There you go. I don't know if Vegas has a line on this. They probably should in this neck of the woods, but over or under 6 inches of snow we get in this impending winter blast coming up?
Well, if I could be like Rossi, we might get it, we might not get it. No, I'm saying we get over 6.
Wrong channel, Coach Smith.
Over 6. I'm sorry.
I think that's probably a wise choice. Packers or Steelers in Super Bowl 45?
Packers.
I asked Lynn this question too, but a little bit different spin. We have 9 games left. At the end of the 9 games, it will be deemed a success by you
if we can win 4 of the 9 games, I would feel pretty good.
Hays on Wednesday?
It would be 600 wins.
600 wins.
I did the math, folks.
Not that I'm counting.
We'll talk more about that when we get a couple wins closer.
We better get a lot closer.
Yeah. Good
I hope we see you in Hays Wednesday night.
I do too.
We'll be right back. Last time Emporia State was in St. Joe, the Lady Hornets were winning the national championship. Wednesday, they were back. So was Western coach Lynn Plett. Had an emergency appendectomy last Thursday, was released from the hospital just hours before this game. Now, this was a down-low battle from the get-go. Rachel Lutine, remember the name, much more from her later. Other end, Emporia's Ollie Volkins, last year's Elite 8 MVP. She had 24 points, 16 rebounds tonight. It looked like Emporia was going to run away with this one. They'd built a 16-point lead on the Griffins early in the second half. Coach Plett needs appendix pills, but his team's starting to heat up. Bell, the steal, up ahead to Callie Schoonover, back to Bell. She had 11 points, 12 rebounds. Then it's Jessica Cook. She had 21 points, 8 assists, and 9 boards, part of a 22-5 Griffin run. You think all that's impressive? You ain't seen nothing yet. Rachel Lutine just transforms into this monster. That's normally not a compliment for a woman, but there's no other way to describe it. She scores on one end, swat shots on the other, then back to scoring at will. She almost single-handedly broke Emporia's will in the final 10 minutes. Lutine's line, get this, 34 points, 8 rebounds, 8 blocked shots as the Griffins down the 14th ranked Hornets, 78-71 the final. Lutine looking like Wilt Chamberlain.
Man, she was amazing. I've never seen Rachel play that good, and she's had great games here. And
Allie Volkins and I have been going against each other for 4 years now, and I'm sick of being told that I'm weak compared to her, that she's the all-star of the conference, and I just use that as motivation to prove that I can hold my own.
How do you feel, and how does it feel to win?
Especially emotionally or physically?
Everything.
Emotionally, I feel great. No, I was just thrilled that I could be able to be here and be part of this.
Saturday, Griffin women on the road at number 9 Washburn. The Griffins dominated the first meeting in December. This one, not so much. Brenna Celine hits the cutting Rachel Lutine down low early. Griffs tied a game at 2, but this was as close as it would get. The Lady Blues then unleash a barrage of threes on the Griffins. They just lit up Lee Arena. This long ball puts Washburn up 28-9 before the Griffins knew what hit them. They'd try to shoot themselves back in it. Alicia Bell nails a 3 of her own. She had 16 points, but Washburn continues to bomb. Stevie Schultz, another Washburn 3. Lady Blues up 46-30 at halftime. That's 5 more points than they scored in the entire first meeting against the Griffins. Second half, Western trying to get back in at Lutine in the post. She had 24 points on 7 of 17 shooting, but the Griffins had no answer for the Lady Blues' three-point attack. Schultz on fire, 26 points, 8 of 13 from behind the arc. Washburn nailed a school record 17 three-pointers, and they shoot down the Griffs 95-74. Western falls to 10-7, 7-6 in the MIAA. Joined now by head coach Lynn Plett. An earlier return, an earlier comeback than any of us really imagined. First of all, how are you feeling?
Better. I think every day is a little stronger. Every day is a little better. Every night is a little bit more restful. So it's definitely better than it was a couple of weeks ago.
You arrived in the field house about 20 minutes before tip-off. A nice surprise to our team and everybody that was there. And the first 25 minutes of that game, boy, it didn't look very good. And then you look up at the scoreboard, down 16, and boom, it was like a light bulb went off. And at the end of that game, I think I held up a sign that said Rachel Lutine for president. 34 points, 8 rebounds, 8 block shots. Not only the best performance of her career, but arguably one of the better single-game performances we've seen here at Western in quite some time. Talk about that.
She was just a dominant force. I think what you're referring to is offensively and defensively. And offensively, she just demanded the ball and wanted the ball. And against a very, very good defensive player on Vulcan's Emporia was doing a really good job offensively. On the other end, I don't know how many, I think 3 out of the last 4 possessions of the ball game where she was the one who brought the rebound down and in a crowd and got fouled and walked to the line and put the game away. And I think 8 officially blocked shots that she had in the ball game made a huge difference. So I was about ready to cry on the bench, honestly, because she was playing so very well.
Saturday, you go to Topeka and return to earth a little bit and run into a red-hot Washburn team. 18 threes, 17 threes on you, which was a school record.
Yeah, you'd hope you wouldn't keep going to the same electrical fence and putting your finger on it every single time. And that was probably the most frustrating part for me, was that we just didn't make the adjustment. When they take 40 attempts at the three-point line, you really have to adjust, and you really got to go out and just make them beat you some other way, and we didn't do a good job of that.
Starting lineup change for Saturday's game. Alicia Bell cracks the starting lineup for the first time this year. Lauren Nolte moves into the 6th-person spot. Is that something we're going to see more of, or how far do we read into that?
It's just I did that more for the sake of a couple of things. Number one, Alicia has been, our most efficient and most consistent player since she's been playing, and a very good defensive player. But it's still not cut in stone by any means. We may change back to something else the next day. I'm not one of those coaches that feel like you have to start the same 5 all the time, which, although it's been that way most of the year. But I think the players understand that too, that the playing time is still going to be pretty much the same whether you start or not.
And other than about 15 minutes against Emporia State last Wednesday night, we're kind of struggling right now. I mean, I think you would agree with that. What's been the biggest difference over the last 4 games that you've seen that has caused us to struggle versus some of the other points in the year when we played very well?
I think when you play in a conference, and you play as many games as you play in this conference, there's not a lot of surprises. So especially after the first round, coaches start looking at statistics and they start looking at habits of players. And when you have, maybe some players that aren't as versatile as other players, they start taking some of those one-dimensional things away from some players. And I think we've got a few individuals that we need to really continually develop some of those other options on how to score and develop those better than we have in the past, because right now it's got a couple players that just aren't being as productive as they were early in the year, and I think a lot has to do with the scouting that other coaches do and how they play defense right now.
Well, in basketball, not a lot of time to adapt, basically. You got to go to Fort Hays on Wednesday, weather permitting, but the Lady Tigers playing well, fresh off an upset of first-place Northwest last Saturday. Just talk about Hays. You beat them here earlier. Got to go there now.
It's, as Northwest proved, it's not a fun place to play. No, and anything can happen at Hays. And Hays has traditionally played very well at home, and they are a scary team from the standpoint, not unlike Washburn against us a little bit, in that they can really put up the threes if they really need to, but they can also put the ball on the floor and create some offense off the dribble as well. So it's one of those things where you hope your mindset is okay after a long trip out there, and you can still focus on what you're supposed to do when you get on the court and play as aggressively as you can. Right now, I think that my biggest concern and our biggest concern is that we start picking up the intensity across the board. I think we've got some players that have really developed that. Lately Rachel has been really consistent. Alicia has been really consistent, and we need some other players to be a little bit more consistent. Maybe not necessarily statistically, but just in their effort on the court right now. And I think some of their confidence has been questioned a little bit internally, and then therefore they don't play quite as hard on some of the other areas like defenses I think they have in the past.
Okay, Lynn, I'm sure you missed this last week when you weren't here. Time for Easley's Impromptu. Good questions this week.
All
I
right.
really worked hard on these. You don't have to tell us what for, but other than birth, have you ever been a hospital patient before?
No.
Okay. Along those lines, have you ever had another, I call this a Willis Reed type performance by you? No one thought you were going to be there, and then here you come. Myron cuts the hospital bracelet off. But have you ever had a moment in your career quite like that as a player or a coach?
I mean, I've had I think a lot of players, I've had games where I've been really sick the day of a game, and some of those games have been the best games I think I've played, from having like 103, 104 fever and still playing. So if that's close, that's probably the closest thing to it.
Totally switching gears. Did you watch the Pro Bowl on Sunday night?
I watched part of it, and it was extremely boring to me.
Probably more than the rest of America. And finally, finish this statement on a serious note. When we're said and done with this season, hopefully in late March, it will have been deemed a success by you if. It's a tough one to end on.
Put him
Yeah,
on
it
the
is. It's
spot
right.
every week, Brett.
Yeah, that's right.
Because he gives me good answers.
As long as if we continue to play consistently, win or lose, and play consistently tough and competitive the rest of this year, I still would consider this to be a successful season.
There you have it.
Hays on Wednesday, back home from Missouri Southern on Saturday. Best of luck this week,
Good luck
Coach
this week.
Plett.
Thanks.
We'll be right back.
I'm Jessica Cook, and this is Cook's Corner. In basketball, height is something that can really make a difference. With us here today, we have Rachel Lutine. Rachel, how tall are you?
6'2".
How long have you been this tall?
5 years old.
So, what have you done to cope with this over the years?
Therapy. Lots and lots of therapy.
How do you block shots during games? Because you've gotten a lot of blocks in the past few games.
It's quite simple. I just put my hands up. Let the ball do the work from there.
All right, and I've heard that your hands are quite large. If you could just put your hand up in front of your face, I would. This is Jessica Cook, and this is Cook's Corner.
It feels like someone just gave us a big breath of fresh air in our program already.
We now can have expectations of ourselves, probably more than we ever could over the last 11 years because of what we're now able to do. It allows us to be able to walk into the league with a little bit more of a swagger because of what we have.
It may not be a completely new program, but it does have the feel for baseball and softball, a new place to practice and a new place to call home. Welcome back to GSI. Both teams no stranger to opening practice in the snow, but now practice just a little bit more comfortable.
That's right. Western baseball should be a lot more comfortable this season. The Griffons will be young this year, but will be more experienced. Coach Buzz Verduzco went with the youth movement a season ago. That's still in place. Only 5 seniors on the entire roster.
We didn't finish our season last year like we wanted to. Our upperclassmen didn't have quite the years that they wanted last year, and so, you know, with a young freshman class that we were forced to play last year, got a lot of experience, so that really helped us. So them coming in this year as sophomores and seeing the league, and with the addition of a lot of new junior college players coming in this year, something we kind of went back to a little bit in compared to previous years, in addition to another good freshman class. We'll pitch a few freshmen on the mound, where typically in the old days we wouldn't.
Griffons open the season February 18th at North Alabama.
Now, softball just weeks away from opening day as well. The sooner the better for this group, who are ready to get back on track. Last year, everything that could go wrong did go wrong for the talented Griffons, who were riddled with injuries and just plain bad luck. But a solid nucleus is back and hungry, and this is a team that wants to get back to its winning ways from 2 years ago when they won an MIAA record 32 games in a row.
There's a lot of talent, and I think more than last year, which last year we had a lot of quote-unquote blue chips in a lot of areas. This team it's a blue-collar, working-class team.
I have huge expectations for myself, and then I think the team has huge expectations for themselves and everybody else. So
Definitely try our hardest and win as many games as we can. Top off last year by a lot, hopefully.
And GSI will be right back.
It's a great time.
Great time. Great time.
great time.
It's a great time.
It's a great time to be a Griffin.
Welcome back. It's the Pick'em segment, and I get to come back and don't wear the coat, so everything is where it needs to be, I guess.
I said the secret at the last week's show. Ryan, you want to win? Just don't show up. You showed up and you lose, but I didn't want to disappoint my fans. They've kind of been through withdrawal of me not wearing this, so I thought I'd do it some justice and get it back on this week.
Dax and Kate at home, your fans. Yeah, mine, I have no fans. You went 7-4 last week. I went 5-6, so you get the coat. And without further ado, we'll go on to this week. MIAA basketball, starting with Pitt State at Southwest Baptist.
Good matchups this week, and the odds makers would probably say Pitt sweep. Not so fast. Give me the Southwest Baptist men and women SBU sweep in Bolivar.
Ooh, you are the odds makers, though. I'll take the Pitt women and the SBU men just for the heck of it. Southern at Lincoln.
Treacherous weather. I think if Southern wanted to, they could call Lincoln and say, look, we're going to win those games. No need for us to come, right? That's why they play the games. No upsets here. Southern wins both.
You just do not like Lincoln. Southern sweep, but I'll take that as well. Central at Emporia.
Intriguing matchup here. Central playing good on both sides. Emporia, kind of struggling a little bit. But you know what? I'm going to take the Emporia women. Give me the Central men on the road.
I will take the Emporia women and the Central men. Omaha at Northwest.
Tough loss for the Bearcat women Saturday. They blow a double-digit lead, but they're going to get healthy Wednesday night. They'll beat Omaha. And on the men's side, nice win for Northwest. I don't think it's 2 in a row. Give me UNO in Maryville.
I'll take the Northwest sweep, see if the Bearcat men can get another one. Truman at Washburn.
Washburn men and women arguably playing as good as any men-women combo in the MIAA. No way Truman gets either of those. Give me Washburn sweep at Lee Arena.
I agree. I'll take Washburn sweep as well. And finally, Mr. Easley, drum roll please. Super Bowl 45, Steelers and Packers.
Super Bowl 45 at Jerry Jones's Palace. I'm going to give you a score. Give me the Green Bay Packers. Throw my cheese head on. Green Bay 24, Pittsburgh 21.
I disagree. Similar to the score, I'll take the Steelers, though, 24-17. Big Ben's going to get his third ring in 7 seasons.
Could happen.
We'll
That's going to be impressive.
Missouri Western men and women on the road at Hayes on Wednesday. They're back home against Missouri Southern Saturday, and a bevy of events on Saturday.
Bevy of events. Couple neat events. Griffon Women's Basketball Clinic this Saturday morning in the Fieldhouse, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. for girls in grades 2 through 6. Absolutely free. Team will sign autographs afterward, and all participants will get a free ticket to the games that night. And then it's our annual Student Athlete Honors Night. We'll honor over 150 Griffon student athletes that earned a cumulative 3.0 semester GPA or higher in calendar year 2010. Always one of our favorite nights. We celebrate our success on the playing field, in the classroom, and in the community. To do it Saturday night.
And that is GSI for this week. Wear gold, and as always, Brett,
Go Griffs!
Go Griffs.